Deal to sell advanced weapons to NATO allies so they can pass them to Ukraine in the fight against Russia. The commander-in-chief is also warning Moscow there will be economic consequences if they don't make a deal, and voiced his displeasure with the Kremlin.
I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. It can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it.
Harley Lippman is a Bush-appointed U.S. Commission member for the Preservation of America's Heritage Abroad and a foreign affairs analyst, and he joins me now. Harley, thanks for being here. So we are talking about a two-pronged approach here, increased weapons to Ukraine and the threat of sanctions. So what does this mean for the United States, and also what does this mean for the course of the war?
Well, this gives Ukraine a chance to not only survive, but be in a position where Putin says, I can't win, so he's forced to the peace table, which is what Trump is trying to do. What's really significant here is to get the Patriot and other anti-missile weapons to Ukraine as fast as possible, because there's an extreme urgency. Putin is going to launch an offensive and is designed to overwhelm Ukraine's defenses, which they'll probably do unless these missiles get there ASAP. So it has to be given to them right off the assembly line. Ukraine has to be first on the list because other countries have bought these Patriot anti-missile weapons. And the secondary tariffs are extremely important because there isn't a lot of trade with Russia, so 100% tariffs will not be enough. But there are a lot of countries that depend on Russian oil, and with secondary tariffs, that's going to be really painful to the Russian economy, and that should get Putin to the peace table.
Yeah, because then those countries are going to be saying, I'm facing a bunch of economic consequences because you're not ending the war. So maybe China and other countries, India, who do buy Russian oil, can go to Putin and say, you got to stop this. I also thought that the president's tone yesterday was notable when he talked about those economic sanctions at the beginning of the press conference. As you just heard, he said, we're going to be doing 100% tariffs, secondary tariffs, if Putin doesn't end this war. And that's it. It's very simple. And then he went on to talk about increased weapons to Ukraine. So with all of those two factors, how do you think Vladimir Putin is reacting right now, and what will his next move be?
Well, he's probably pretty unhappy, but at the end of the day, Trump even mentioned before that in his conversation with Putin 2 months ago, he was disappointed. Why? Putin says, why should I settle? I'm winning. So Trump has to show Putin that he's not winning, and that's the best chance of getting a peace agreement achieved.
And the president said that some Patriot systems will be arriving in Ukraine within days. So I can imagine, on top of the much needed weapons to Ukraine, this has also got to be a huge morale boost for them as well.
That's another reason, absolutely. And it's brilliant because the United States is not paying for it. If you remember, during his campaign, a lot of people were wondering, why are we spending billions and billions of dollars when this is a war in Europe's backyard? Now Europe is paying for it. So he accomplished his campaign promise, and this is really going to move things towards peace.
A win-win, and hopefully it does move things towards peace. Speaking of, you were just in Israel. You met with Israeli Ambassador Mike Huckabee. Where are we when it comes to the Israel-Gaza ceasefire deal? I
think very close. You know, the goals are twofold. One, release of the hostages, and secondary, the surrender of Hamas. Very, very challenging, but I think we're very close to achieving it. And the reason why you need to have the surrender of Hamas is, just imagine that the United States was invaded by Canada with 40, the equivalent what happened in Israel, 40,000 people descend across America's borders, rape, murder, and kill, and the government in Canada is devoted to destroying the United States. The United States would make sure that government is changed. That's what Israel is trying to do with Gaza.
And now there are several Iranian officials who have called for the assassination of President Trump. An Iranian group claims to have raised $40 million in bounty and has put it on President Trump's head. How serious should we be taking this threat?
Very seriously. You know, this is extraordinary. I'm stunned that they would do that. I just scratch my head and wonder how self-destructive Iran is acting. They're doing everything to provoke the United States, but we have to listen to what they say. It's arrogance to think we know better what our adversary means in their own words. If they say they'll do it, believe them. They say what they'll do.
So the Secret Service also responded saying, we operate in a heightened and very dynamic threat environment, and the safety and security of the president and all of our protectees remain our highest priority. So they say that they're on it, but this certainly has them on notice.
Absolutely, has to be.
Yeah. All right, Harley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We very much appreciate it.